सुर्ग बासना बचिए डरिए न नरक निवास होना है सो हुई है। मन है न कीजे आस रमैया गुन गाये जाते पाये परम निदान। क्या जप क्या तप संजमो क्या व्रत क्या स्नान। जब लग जुगत न जानिए भाव भगत भगवान। संपै देखना हर की है विपत देखना रोए। ज्यों संपै त्यों विपत है विधि ने रचिया सो होए। कह कबीर अब जानिया तन हृदय मझार। सेवक सो सेवा फले जे घट बसै मुरार। रमैया 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 गुन गाये जाते पाये परम निधान। जाते पाये परम निधान। सुर्ग बासना बचिए डरिए न नरक निवास होना है सो हुई है। मन है न कीजे आस।
एक ओंकार सतनाम करता पुरख निरपौ निर्वैर अकाल मूर्त अजूनी सैभं गुर प्रसाद। एक ओंकार सतनाम करता पुरख निरपौ निर्वैर अकाल मूर्त अजूनी सैभं गुर प्रसाद। एक ओंकार सतनाम करता पुरख निरपौ निर्वैर अकाल मूर्त जूनी सैफं गुर प्रसाद हवाई बंदगी अवर दर वजूद मरा वगरना ज़ौक़े चुनिया उमदैन नमूद मरा गम चे बाशत गफलत अज़ याद खुदा चीज़ शादी याद बेइंतहा वाहिगुरू जी का खालसा वाहिगुरू जी की फतेह. We visit the subject of heaven and hell. What is the reality of heaven and hell in Guru Nanak's house? What is the heaven and hell we live through in our mind? What is heaven and hell as a structure of physical reality? We live through life, the journey of life, with incomplete knowledge of life. Because we don't have the complete experience. There is an unseen part of life, like there is an unknown part of our own mind. We only know the thought mind, the thinking mind, the mind which is always moving in change. Like we know in the physical world only those parts of life where everything is physical reality, where we can touch, feel, know. But not all of it is this whole experience we have. So our knowledge is incomplete, and so are our experiences, our conclusions. So are our decisions of life, flawed because they do not have the complete data of what is life. They don't have the vision of what is life. And that's the role of the Guru. In the Asa Diwar, Maharaj says, Nanak Guru na chetni, man apne suchet, chhote tilbo arjo sunji anjar khet. We don't want a Guru. We know, we feel we have the information, we have everything. Guru na chetni. My mind knows I am an aware person. But my awareness is limited to touch, feel, senses, to the paradigm of the sensual world, the senses which are exposing me to the physical reality. But who is the one who's seeing? It's not the eyes. The eyes are the tools of seeing. We are not aware of the field where the game of life is played, which is the mind. We are not completely aware of the psychology of the inner mind. What does the mind contain? Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib, in one of his Shabad says, Jan Nanak bin apa chine, mite na pram ki kai. Chine means to know. Without knowing the apa, the inner mind, without knowing our whole mind structure, we will be living the deceit of life. Mite pram. An illusion, not the real life. In the Japji Sahib, in the beginning of the Japji, Maharaj raises the question, which is actually the question which Guru Granth Sahib addresses. Gives chara hoye, give kude tutte paal. How do I become truth that has created me? How do I meet that? How does the wall between me and my Creator go away? And he gives an answer. He says, Hukam razai chalna. Razai would mean an acceptance of everything. Meaning I live through life, and whatever life gives me as a result of what my efforts are, my knowledge, whatever I can change or not change. What about that part? I accept. If I accept it, then there's a certain attitude of life. And heaven and hell is a part of that acceptance. Hukam razai chalna. Nanak likhya naal. What is the baggage I am carrying? Is my own heaven and hell, like our own heaven and hells. In many cultures in the world, there are There is this concept of an actual place of being where there is a heaven and hell. But Guru Sahib doesn't agree with that. However, heaven and hell is our own creation with our own karmas, our actions, our doings. The structure of the mind has two aspects to it. One is the karma world, the doing world. And the other is another world, the Gur Prasad, the Kirpa world. These are the two different minds we have. One is thir, stable, never changing, always present, where there is no death. The death happens to this changing mind which we have. This dies. At death we give up this identity. We give up this mind which is always thinking. It goes into its own source mind. And so in Gurbani, the other mind is called the Thirkar, the stable mind, the forever man. We only live the thought world. We have never experienced man which is beyond the thought world. We do not know what lies beyond this paradigm of thought, beyond the ego mind, what lies ahead. For that we need the Guru. Gur Prasad is that kirpa, that door is opened through Gur Prasad, and only then we are aware of that mind which doesn't change. And that is our foundation mind, and that is more real than this mind which changes, because that is forever. This is not forever. You, me, everything, and this experience of what we are living through in life is transient and temporary, including our heaven and hells. So this visitation of this concept of heaven and hell will give us an insight into Hukam Razai Chalana. When there is an acceptance of everything which I live through. And there is a very beautiful Shabad which Bhagat Kabir has voiced. And that gives out the whole story. That gives out the concept of what this heaven and hell is all about. It gives a very fearless conditioning mind, and fearless mind. Surg baas na bachiye, dariye na nark nivas. I don't have expectations of the Swarg, of heaven. He says, I don't have. And I am not fearful of the hell which is coming my way. Dariye na nark nivas. Hona hai, so hoi hai. Whatever will happen, will happen. He's not saying he's inviting a hell. He's not saying he's working towards the hell. He says, what will happen, will happen. I accept whatever comes my way. It's a very fearless way of living. Mane na kije aas. Don't live in expectation. That is the seed of our hell. Expectation. That is where disappointment comes. When we live in expectation, we stop living the reality of who we are. We don't know who we are, in fact. Because we don't know that whole mind of ours, which lies at the foundation of our mind, which doesn't change, and which has some bounties in it, which is what we are seeking. We are all seeking happiness, and we are seeking it forever. And that lies in that mind, unconditional happiness, which Guru calls Anand. We are seeking reasons for being happy, relationships, conditions, things. But all those are governed by change. All those are governed by time, space, and cause. And if that aspect of life, where we are living with these expectations, if those are not stable, then our experience of happiness is also unstable. And there is when the disappointment comes. So what does Kabir say? He says, Mane na kijiye aas. I don't live in expectation. I live in acceptance. Whatever comes my way, I will live. If it's hell, I don't fear it. And I don't seek heaven. Why is he doing this? Why is he creating this paradigm in his mind where he says, I don't expect. I am not living in expectation. Ramaiya, gun gaiye. This opens the paradigm of what the mind is. Ramaiya gun gaiye, jate paiye param nidan. So the sadhu, the guru, is more aware of life than we are. And he is looking at param nidan. Param is the prime, the permanent, the absolute. Nidan is wealth, jewel. The actual wealth of life lies in Ramaiya Gunagaiye. Is going beyond the ego mind. Is going beyond the home mind. It's going beyond this ego because that is the relationship we need to understand. What is the ego and my relationship? Home buje, ta dar suje. If I have understood my relationship to ego, life's relationship to ego, then I have understood the door of the Creator. I have understood the source mind. Where is my mind coming from? Kahan te aave, kahan hai jaave, kahan hai rahe samai. Where does he come from? Where does it go? Where does it find rest? Where is this paradigm of the mind? He says, Ramaiya gun gaiye, jate paiye param nidan. Maharaj in the Asadivar gives us an explanation about the ego world, the home world. And in that he explains that this nark, this hell and heaven are part of this ego mind, are part of this home which jamya, home which mua, home which ditta, home which leya, home which khatya, home which gaya, home which satyar kudyar, home which paap pun vichar, paap pun, sins and good deeds, are all part of the ego mind. How the birth and death are part of the ego mind. Giving and taking are part of the ego mind. How which khatya, how which gaya. And to take the wealth and goes away, it's all part of the ego mind. Earning and giving away. How which satyar kudyar. The truthfulness and the deceit, it all lies in this ego mind. This experience is through the ego mind. How much nark surk avatar. And within this ego mind is also the experience of heaven and hell. That is what the ego lives through. Ego lives in expectation, trishna, desire. It is seeking something. It is seeking happiness. It is seeking solutions. It is seeking happiness forever. And it wants to find it through its own choices, through its desires. I desire something because I want it. I like it. Why? Because I will be happy with it. It is my source of happiness. Life is like a shop. Millions of things in it. Some of them will live for a few minutes, some for a few hours, some for a few days. Some things will live for years, something will live through our lifetime. And all of them make us happy. Trigger happiness within us. But where will what will be my experience of life when these triggers of life go away? When that relationship which has gave me so much joy all my life is ultimately culminated in a separation by whatever, it could be death separation. Because death will take away this entire experience of life. And what will be the remnant part? I am not aware of that. इस मन को कोई खोजो पाई, तन छूटे मन कहाँ समाई. He says, search this mind. There lies the answer for what happens to us when we die. Kit kit bid jak upje purkha, kit kit dukh binas jai. How does the world come about? And how does pain and sorrow go away? How may jag upje purkha, naam visariye dukh pai. Through the ego, the world comes about. We experience this entire world through the experience of ego. Ego is the vehicle of life. It's how we travel through life. It is not ours. It's an opportunity. But through the ego experience, we can have a transcendence of ego, where we have transcended the ego mind and found the permanent house we have, Thirkar, Nij Thao. Where is pain and how does it go away? Where is sorrow and how does it go away? Where is rest? Where do I find rest of life? Where there's no wandering and I stop expecting and being disappointed. Where are all these experiences? Sagal Pavan ke naika ek chin tars dikhaye ji. For a split second show me this vision of where is this absolute world. The darshan of the man. Bande khoj dil har roz. Bhagat Kabir says, search your mind every day. If you want to go beyond worry, beyond tension, beyond pressures, beyond stresses, live through the mind more deeply than we are living. Live through the mind, not in the transient way where all these thoughts are coming and going, but look beyond the thoughts. What is the mind? The clouds of life have a sky behind them. What is that sky and where does that experience of the sky and the man? Go inwards, says the Sufi, is the 11th direction. Look inwards. Bahar ढूंढत बहुत दुख पावे. Searching outside, a lot of pain comes our way. जब हृदय दहना होती, मन को ठहरता. When there is no body, there is no place for the heart. Where does the mind go? Where does it go? Somebody passed away 5 days ago. Where is he gone? Or she gone? Where is she now? She was here in the body. Where is this heaven and hell that we are all seeking, our heaven? This is part of the changing mind. In one of the Sukhmani Sahib shloks, Guru Arjan Sahib talks about this paradigm of life. Where like in the Japji, Guru Sahib brings out 4 forms of time. Present, past, future, we all know. But Maharaj starts with Aad Sach. When there was no time, when there was nothing, when there was only the Creator, then where was heaven and hell? He says, Kaun nark ko surk bachavat, paap punte. Where was the heaven and hell then when there was only one Creator? There was nothing else. So this heaven and hell is more our concept. It's our rising from our desire. We are seeking happiness. In that we are creating heaven and hell for ourselves. Expectation will take us straight to hell. Acceptance will open the door to what is beyond heaven and hell. That's why Maharaj says, Hukam Razai Chalna. Live in the awareness of the man. Acceptance of whatever happens. And this is exactly what Bhagat Kabir is saying in this Shabad today. Surg baas na bachiye, dariye na nark nivas. I don't seek heaven. I am not scared of hell. Hona hai so hoi hai. Hukam razai chalna. Hona hai so hoi hai. Mane na kiche aas. And I don't live in expectation. In the Guru Granth Sahib you will find this line coming again and again. Asa mahe nirasa. No, nirasa. I have no expectation from this aas world, from this expectation world. I do not live in that expectation, he says. The Sant doesn't live in that. And the reason is because he has found a deeper paradigm, Param Nidan. Something which is more permanent. Something which is more dependable. Something which is more real. And which comes from an environment of Sahaj. Non-doing, Sahaj. There is no effort. Santokh, where there is satiation, stability. And there is this environment of a permanent home. Sada anand rahe din rati. No time. No fear of death. No fear of change. Where he says, I do as I want to do. Tyo tyo sel kare jyo pave. Mehram mehal na ko atkave. As I want, I do. Sachkhand vase nirankar, kar kar vekhe nadar nihal. There he says, Jiv jiv hukam tive tivkar. As the hukam, so is my man, so is my mind. There is no difference now between the Creator's hukam and my man. And that has to do with acceptance of hell and heaven both. The pains of life will give me hell, maybe, and the joys will give me heaven. But if I am satisfied with this experience, then I will not go beyond them. Kabir says, I reject both of them. I don't want these experiences. I live through them, but I live in complete acceptance. Whatever is happening is fine. Because he has found something more deeper. He has found something much more real than what we have. He has found something which can't be taken away from him. That's the whole difference. Teri bakshna mete koi, Satgur ka dilasa. The Guru Prasad can't be taken away. The Guru guarantees that. If it can be taken away, it's not Guru Prasad, it's Maya. That happiness which comes in a transient, temporary frame of my man belongs to the ego mind, and there it ends. Maharaj says, जब एक के हर अगम अपार तब नरक स्वर्ग कहो कौन अवतार. When there is only one creator, har agam apar. When there is only one ek omkar, when there is only one, there is none else, then where is tab nark surg kaho kaman avatar? Where is the experience of heaven and hell? So heaven and hell, we can conclude, are the states of our mind. We live through them in the transient mode. The hell, the heaven, the pain, the joy. But we are more fixated with them because we are all ego-centered people. Hame buje taan dar suje. We haven't understood the ego and the relationship of life. We haven't lived in the mind which is beyond our identity, which is beyond the ego mind, which is beyond the changing mind. Have I ever transcended to that? That is why Guru Sahib invites us. Pichal raat na jagyo, jeevandro moyo. Wake in the last pair of the night, pichli raat, before the sun is coming up, and go inwards. Pichli raat रहन के सुरते उपजे चाओ. Surt. Surt, what is the Surt, Maharaj? Surt is the one ekagarman, ikchitman, which is not moving, the thoughtless mind. Jat pahara tirat sodihar, aharan mat vedhatyar. Aharan mat, the stable mind. And Shabad is the hatyar. Now this whole life of ours is defined by qualities, good, bad, ugly, structures, names, forms. These are all falling under the definition of Trigun in the Guru Granth Sahib. You will visit this line again and again, the Trigun. Mythologically, the Triguns are defined as Rajas, Tamas, Satogun. Rajas, the empowered man, which is full of power. Satogun, the purer mind, the mind which is looking at sato, good things. And tamas is the more lazy part of our man. In fact, the structure of the entire creation is defined through these three guns. Maharaj says, त्रै गुण में वर्ते संसारा, नरक स्वर्ग फिर अवतारा. Those who live in these three guns, they visit Nark and Swarg again and again. So Nark and Swarg are our companions of the ego journey, like Trishna, desire, like pain, like Sukh and Dukh, like honor and dishonor, like rich, poor, good, bad. All of these dualities of our man, we live through them. And they are all part of the ego mind. And they come through the divisive mind. They do not come from the one paradigm of the one mind. Socrates, 35 BC in Athens, was condemned to death. And the night before he was to die, his friend visited him and wanted him to run away in the middle of the night. Socrates refused. He did not fear death. Like Kabir is saying, I don't fear hell. I accept what comes my way. If this is what they want from me, says Socrates, in the court they offered me to run away and go away from Athens and they will forgive me. But why should I run away? And now you are telling me to run in the middle of the night like a thief. I am not a thief. He does not fear death. This is important to understand. Who are these people who know this paradigm of heaven and hell and live beyond it in a world where they don't fear death? They don't have fear as their part. And there, the Guru Granth Sahib defines this as the Naam phase of life. Ramaya ke gun chet prani. Where I don't live the ego mind, I live with the source mind, Ramaya. He, you are, thou, tu hi nirankar, not main. And where does this ego mind lead us to? Where does this ego mind lead us to, the heaven and hell? It's through the Pap and Pun. In the Japji Sahib, Maharaj says, Punni papi akhadna hai, kar karna likh le jao, ape beej ape hi khao, nanak hukmi avo jao. He says these good and bad deeds are not just mere talk. As we do, so it is written within our man. It's recorded within us. Kar kar karna, likh le jao. Ape beej, and these are the seeds of life which we create. These will give results, and we live through them. Nanak hukmi avo jao. And this is the wandering mind. The ego mind is always wandering, never satiated, never resting, always thinking, wandering, wanting, always incomplete, always under stress. Only when we relax we go beyond the ego mind. How which nark surg avatar, how which hasse, how which rove, how which pariye, how which dove, how which jati jinsi khove. And in this wandering life of the ego, we lose the meaning of life. We forget. We don't see. We don't experience life in its completeness. We are not aware of what is really life. We are not aware of what life's baggage contains. Beyond the ego, we don't know anything. And the ego experience is only the temporary traveling experience of this life. Again and again we have taken birth, says Maharaj. Kartar fir taki bhaktere, jata sankant nahi mere. Maharaj says that this paradigm of Nark and Swarg, heaven and hell, is not for the Sant. He doesn't want this. He lives through them, but he doesn't live in their expectation. Kavan Nark kya Swarg bichara, Santan doye radhe. हम काहू की कान न कब करते आपन गुर प्रसादे. अब तो जाए चढ़े सिंहासन, मिल है सारंग पानी. राम कबीरा एक पए हैं, को न सके पछानी. Where will we find the one, our source mind? Then we will find rest. Ram Kabira ek paye hai, koi na sake pachani. He says, I am not interested in heaven and hell. Kavan nark kya swarg bichara. Santan doirade. I give them both up. I am not in desire of heaven, and I am not fearful of death. So that experience is now beyond me. I go beyond it. हम काहू की कान न कटते आपन गुर प्रसादे. I am looking at the Guru's prasad. Guru opens the doors beyond the ego senses. Guru opens the door beyond the ego to that mind of ours, where the Anand of life lives. Beyond the happiness and sorrow, the unconditional happiness and love, and the timeless experience of life, where there is no death. Maharaj explains to us that life carries with it our ego mind, and then beyond the ego mind. And how do we go beyond the ego mind? Kiv satyara huiye, kiv kude tutte paal. Maharaj says, gaviye suniye, man rakhiye pao. You go beyond the ego through the experience of Shabad and Surat. Gaviye suniye, man rakhiye pao. Dukh par har sukh kar le jaye. Pain will go away, and the house of happiness will open. Not temporary happiness. Not a happiness which can be taken away from us. Where the fear goes away. There is so much fearlessness in this attitude. I don't fear hell, he says. We are so fearful of pain, of sorrow, of loss. But they have found a state of mind where there is no sorrow, no loss, no death. Ab mohe khub watan gaya pai. Uha khair sada mere pai. I have found a great nation within my man, where there is I am taken care of forever. Sada mere pai. Where there is no sense of tax, loss, stress, anxiety. No, he says, no mistakes also. We haven't found that mind, and that makes all the difference. If any of us have found that mind, then this experience of the physical world we live through, it doesn't have that kind of a grip on us. We have an experience of our man which is beyond the physical experience. So the pain and pleasure, the happiness and sorrow, the exaltations and the feeling of loss, it has no grip on us. If I already have a state of being where I have found happiness without any of these conditions, then I have found one of the keys of life. He says, Man jeete jag jeet. This is what Guru Sahib is reinforcing in the entire Guru Granth Sahib to us, that the experience of the man carries in it Anand, Amrit. And he says this is what we are seeking actually. Surnar Munjan Amrit khoj de. जिस वक्कर को लैण तू आया, राम नाम संतन कर पाया. So he says, can we do this while we live in our family life, doing our business? Can we have this experience of the inner mind while we live our normal lives, so to say? So to say. He says, Viche Maya Paya. While living in this changing mind, while living in this ego mind, you can still go beyond it and you find it. जैसे जल में कमल निरालम मुर्गाई ने साने सुरत शब्द पव सागर तरिए नानक नाम वखाने. Like the lotus, like the bird in water, they don't drown, they don't get dirty in the water. Like that, if we hold on to the Surt and Shabad, if we hold on to the Naam of life, then while we live this experience of life, we go beyond it, to that Man, Unman. But we need Guru for that. We need effort, time to stabilize our mind. It needs stable mind. Thir kar baiso har jan pyare. Satgur tumre kaaj savare. All your solutions will come. So our experience of life, the reasons for our cause of pain are the symptoms of pain. They are not the real cause of pain. What is the real reason for our pain? It's not these symptoms. The sense of loss, separation, a sense of loss in wealth, disease, physical pain, honor, dishonor. These are not the real cause for our anxiety and pain. They are imaginary in some ways. In some ways. They are the symptoms. The real pain of life, gam che bashat, gaflat tas yaad khuda, cheez shadi yaad beimtaha. Bhai Nandlal asked this question, what is the reason of pain, gam che bashat? Gaflat tas yaad khuda. Not knowing who has created you is the reason for your pain. Because that is the source of Anand where we come from. All of us come from. Anand Roop Ravyo Sab Madde Jatkat Pe Khujai. And that Anand creates satiation within us. Our wandering ceases because we are looking for that happiness and we find it. We are seeking outside, but we find it within. And then he says, the reality of life opens. Bande khoj dil har roz, na fir pareshani maaye. He says, tuk dam karari jo karo, hazir huzur khudaye. Tuk dam karari. For a fraction of a second, stabilize your mind. Hazir huzur khudaye. You will find the Creator hazir, present before you. Not imaginary. Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Maharaj, you will find his presence right there. Tuk dam karari jo karo, hazir huzur khudaye. Bande khoj dil har roz. But we need to go within. Khoj dil har roz. Na fir pareshani maahe. Then you go beyond the worrying mind. Everything which we fear, everything which gives us anxiety, stresses, is all the transient part of life, and ultimately we have to give it up anyway. Everything which life gives us, it will take it away. If we can write on a piece of paper one thing in life which death will not take away, then we have found our soul, our spirit, Atma. Then we have found Anand. One thing which death will not take away from us is Naam. The subconscious mind will carry the baggage of pain with us. Kot janam ke dukh. For millions of lifetimes, the pain is within the man. Sant janamil har jas gayo, kot janam ke dukh gavayo. The pain goes away when we go beyond the ego mind. Sant janamil har jas gayo. He says, whom do you value? The money, the more powerful, the king, the politician who has got more power? Who is the valuable person in life? He says, that person who sings the praises of the Creator. Basically, somebody who goes beyond the ego mind. Vad bhagi ta jan ko jano. Jo har ke gun gaye. Har ke gun gaye means I go beyond myself. I stop saying me, mine. I go beyond my ego. Haume buje ta dar suje. Haume kitho upje, kit sanjam mein jaye. Where does ego come from, Maharaj? And how will it go away? Haume ho hukam hai, paiye kirt faraye. This is the part of the structure of life. Haume is our vehicle of experiencing life. Haume ho hukam hai, paiye kirt faraye. And we wander through life in this vehicle of haume. Haume dirag rog hai. And this is a disease if you don't go beyond it. Daru bhi isma hai. The solution is within this ego. You need Guru, Kirpa kare je apni. You need Guru Gobind Singh Sahib for that. You need his presence we need his presence in our lives. We need to have dhyan of him, of Shabad Guru. Kirpa kare je apni, the Gur ka Shabad kamaye. The Surat and Shabad, this experience is what is needed to go beyond the ego. Nanak kahe suno jano, it sanjam dukh jaye. This is how pain goes away. This is how life's pain will go away. The experience of Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Maharaj in our lives. Guru is always there, never gone. Guru never comes, never goes, never takes birth and never dies. We think this, but Guru is always present. We have that experience through the physical because we only experience the physical life. So our pain and pleasure, our sorrows and our happiness, our heaven and hells are a transient part of our life, changing part of our life. That part which never changes, We have to be aware of that. We need to work towards that. We need to pray, call, invest in going towards that. Hukam razai chalana, Nanak likhya naal. How do I do that? Gaviye, suniye, man rakhiye paaye. By listening to Shabad. While I sing it, not through the radio, not through the computer, not through the phone. I sing and I listen because I absorb my mind in the Shabad. Like I put a sponge in water and I take it out and it's full of water. I sponge my man in the Shabad. Suniye maniye. When we listen, we go into manna. We go into falling in line with Shabad. We become tadrup with Shabad. We become one mind with Shabad. Suniye maniye. Man ki tapao, and love comes in our mind. Love comes within us. The experience of the Creator is experience of infinite, unconditional love. Suniye maniye man ki tapao, antargat tirath mallao, and within us is the pilgrimage. Just go within and we find it. We don't need to wander outside for it. The ego is transient, temporary, painful, and unstable. Jat para tirat sodyar, Aaron mat vedatyar. So we take away our focus mind from the outworld to the inner mind. Jat pahara, tirad sunyar. Be patient. Aaron mat, stable mind. Vedatyar, find the Shabad with stable mind. 3 people will have difficulties in spiritual life. The wandering mind, the lazy people, and those who are going through experience of illnesses, which cause obstruction to the man being stable. Pao khala agantaptao, the fear of life. We use that for our going inwards. We use that as a stimulant and convert that into love. Pao khala agantaptao panda pao. And the mind becomes then a love container. Panda pao. Amrit tittal. Here is the Amrit. What is Amrit? Happiness forever. Unconditional happiness and love forever. Timeless. And what do we need to do? Kadiye Shabad Sachi Taksal. Absorb the mind in the Shabad and let the Shabad chisel out and purify the mind and give us the wealth within the man. Taksal, the wealth. So the sixth wealth, the Sikh, his wealth is Shabad Guru. Kadiye Shabad Sachi Taksal. Jinko nadar karam tinkar. And the Guru's nadar, Guru's grace, Guru's kirpa, Guru's karam is needed for this. I can't do it myself. When we go to the Darbar Sahib, you see there is the roof of the Darbar Sahib is what? The lotus plant, it faces the light, always the sun. If the sun is moving from one direction to the other, the lotus will change its face throughout the day to face the sun. That is the beauty of the lotus. The top of the Darbar Sahib is an inverted lotus. But the light is outside, Maharaj. Why is it facing? Because the Shabad is the actual awakening of life. जैसो चंदा उगवे सूरज चढ़े अदा अदा हजार इत्ते चानन होंदे गुरबिन कोरंदार. There may be thousands of moons, millions of moons and suns, light from all of them. Even then there is darkness without Shabad and Guru. And how do we meet the Guru? By listening to the Guru. Suniye maniye. Nanak Bhagata Sada Vikas, Suniye Dukh Paap Ka Nas. When we listen to the Guru and absorb his Shabad and make it part of our existence, then it defines us. Panch Parvan, Panch Pradhan, Panche Pave Darge Man. After Sunan, the man goes into Manna, Manan, and then it becomes Panch. Dargah Man. Their door opens. Their door to that life opens where there is no death. Those are the Panch of life. Heaven and hell is our creation of our man, is our defining paradigms of the changing mind, is our living experience of the ego mind. But the real life is beyond this experience of the ego, which is transient and temporary. Man can never enter the same river twice. That's the ego which changes. If you have any questions, then we will say the Anand Sahib and conclude today's session. You can raise your hand or you can write out your question if you have one. Ji. Why not expectations? Because expectation will invite disappointment. Acceptance makes him live the real life. He doesn't live in an imaginary expectation. He lives the core experience of life, the Tat Gyan, the Anand of life. That experience which is always with us, we are in denial of that experience. And we are expecting it through our own changing mind. If there are any more questions, otherwise we shift. Someone can please volunteer for Anand Sahib.
वाहिगुरु जी
जी महाराज।
रामकली पहला तीजा आनंद एक ओंकार सतगुर प्रसाद आनंद भया मेरी माए सतगुरु मैं पाया सतगुर ता पाया सहज सेती मन वजिया वाधाइयां राग रतन परवार परियां शब्द गावण आइयां शब्दो तगावो हरि केरा मन जिनी वसाया कह नानक आनंद होआ सतगुरु मैं पाया ए मन मेरा तू सदा रो हर नाले हर नाल रो तू मन मेरे दुख सब विसारना अंगीकार ओ करे तेरा कारज सब सवारना सबना गला समरथ स्वामी सो क्यों मनो विसारे कह नानक मन मेरे सदा रोह नाले साचे साहिबा क्या नाही कर तेरा करता तेरा सब कुछ है जिस देह सो पावे सदा सिफत सलाह तेरी नाम मन वसावे नाम जिनकै मन वसया वाजे शब्द गलेरे कह नानक सच्चे साहिब क्या नाही कर तेरा साचा नाम मेरा आधारो साच नाम आधार मेरा जिन भुखा सब गवाइया कर शांत सुख मन आय वसया जिन इच्छा सब बुझाइया सदा कुर्बान कीता गुरु भट्टों जिस दिया ए वड़ियाइया ਕਹੇ ਨਾਨਕ ਸੁਣੋ ਸੰਤੋ, ਸ਼ਬਦ ਧਰੋ ਪਿਆਰੋ, ਸਾਚਾ ਨਾਮ ਮੇਰਾ ਆਧਾਰੋ। ਵਾਜੇ ਪੰਜ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਚਿਤ ਕਰ ਸੁਭਾਗੈ, ਘਰ ਸੁਭਾਗੈ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਵਾਜੇ। ਕਲਾ ਚਿਤ ਕਰ ਧਾਰਿਆ, ਪੰਜ ਤੂਤ ਤੁਧ ਵਸ ਕੀਤੇ। ਕਾਲ ਕੰਟਕ ਮਾਰਿਆ, ਤੁਰ ਕਰਮ ਪਾਇਆ, ਤੁਜਨ ਕੋ ਸੇ ਨਾਮ ਹਰ ਕੈ ਲਾਗੇ। ਕਹਿ ਨਾਨਕ ਤੈ ਸੁਖੋਆ, ਤਿਤ ਕਰ ਅਨਹਦ ਵਾਜੇ। ਆਨੰਦ ਸੁਨੋ ਬੜ ਭਾਗੀ ਹੋ, ਸਗਲ ਮਨੋਰਥ ਪੂਰੇ। ਪਾਰ ਬ੍ਰਹਮ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਪਾਇਆ, ਉਤਰੇ ਸਗਲ ਵਿਸੂਰੇ। ਦੁਖ ਰੋਗ ਸੰਤਾਪ ਉਤਰੇ, ਸੁਣੀ ਸੱਚੀ ਬਾਣੀ। ਸੰਤ ਸਾਜਨ ਪਏ ਸਰਸੇ, ਪੂਰੇ ਗੁਰ ਤੇ ਜਾਣੀ। ਸੁਣਤੇ ਪੁਨੀਤ ਕਹਤੇ ਪਵਿੱਤ, ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਭਰਪੂਰੇ। ਬਿਨਵੰਤ ਨਾਨਕ ਗੁਰ ਚਰਨ ਲਾਗੇ, ਵਾਜੇ ਅਨਹਦ ਤੂਰੇ। ਸੁਣਤੇ ਪੁਨੀਤ ਕਹਤੇ ਪਵਿੱਤ, ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਭਰਪੂਰੇ। ਬਿਨਵੰਤ ਨਾਨਕ ਗੁਰ ਚਰਨ ਲਾਗੇ, ਵਾਜੇ ਅਨਹਦ ਤੂਰੇ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਹੈ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਆਲ। ਧੰਨ ਧੰਨ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ।
Recording stop.